Hello students, welcome back to the next session, the classes, that is function loading. Let us continue with the next session of this. In the next session, we are going to learn about inline functions. Now, what do you mean by inline functions? If you remember, we have talked about the calling function, right, and the called function. Now, what happens here? When you are going to call a function, that is your calling function, you are going to transfer the control from the calling function to the called function, and along with that you are going to pass some arguments and you may expect some return values, right? So this is the way your function works. Sometimes instead of using this calling function and called function both together, we can only call the function simultaneously. You need not have a function call and again the function header. You can directly have your function call. There itself you can expand, give the code for that we call it as your inline function. So in short, if you are defining the function, if you are defining the function which are not actually called and expect the return value, then the functions are expanded inline at each function call. Such functions are called as inline function, or in a short, if you want the definition, you say a function which expands the source code at the place of function call. This we call it as a inline function. Now, why do you require this inline function? Before going to that, we'll give the syntax of this. Now, one thing that you are supposed to remember is whenever you are using a inline function, you have to use the keyword that is inline. This keyword has to be used. Now, it's nothing but the expansion of the source code. Now, the syntax for this: you give the keyword inline and then return type and then the function name and your argument list, and then go for your statements. It can be one or more than one, and then your return. This is a syntax. Remember, this is your keyword that you are going to use to say that it is your inline function. Now, if we go for the example, a programming example for this, we'll go this. I'm mentioning this because this program is very important both for your theory and for your practical examination. Keep in mind, this is an important 5-mark question. Program to find the cube of a number. So if you remember, what are we supposed to do? Give the definition, that is your class, and then the class name. Now you are supposed to find the cube of a number, so that is a name, class name you are giving. Next, find the cube. Your public access specifiers or access specifier, whichever you are going to make use of public. Then inline int cube This is your keyword, this is the return type specifier, this is your function name, and the argument for which you are supposed to find the cube. This is your argument. Okay, this is your keyword, this is your return type, this is your function name and argument. Okay, and then give the expand the function. This is you are giving the return value, return cube is x into x into x, and then close. This finishes your function and this finishes your class. Then coming to the main part of the program, that is void main. Give the class name, that is your find cube, and the object, that is f. Any, you can give any name, variable name, and then int n, which is the number for which you are supposed to find the cube, that is represented by this n. Cout, enter a number, that is the number for which you want to find the cube of. Then enter a number, cin n, and then cout cube of n, that is whatever number you are printing, that will be given here. N is equal to object name dot function name, which is the argument you are passing. Let us change this part. Enter a number, cin n, cout cube of n is equal to f dot cube of n. Then this is your program to find the cube of a number. And remember, the keyword inline is very important. This is about your inline functions. Now the other important part in this is your advantages and disadvantages of inline functions. This is an important question, advantages and disadvantages. Now what are the advantages? As we said, you are going to expand the function at the place where you are going to call. You need not go for the calling function, called function, two different things. You are doing it at the same time. So that means that it does not require function calling overhead. Again, you need not declare the function prototype, the function call, function header. Okay, so that is not required. So it avoids the overhead of variables, that is push and pop on the stack, that you will be learning later while function calling. And it also avoids the overhead of return value, avoids overhead of return value, avoids the overhead of variables, avoids overhead of variables. And also, if you have got very small functions, then inline functions are very suitable. The disadvantage will be the opposite of that. So if you are using very small functions, then it is good to use inline functions. So this is about your advantages. Now coming to your disadvantages. Now when you are saying you are going to expand it inline, so it may increase the function size. It may increase the function size, and then it may cause compilation. It will be difficult at the time of you are doing the function call the same moment. So compilation overhead is there, and then if it is used in the header file, it will make your header file very large. It makes your header file very large, and you may not be able to read it. And larger functions, you cannot use larger functions in your inline function because it may not give you good performance. So this is about the disadvantages of your inline functions. This is about your inline functions, syntax, advantages and disadvantages. And the next part or the concept in this is your friend function. Now what do you mean by a friend? You have a friend, a very close friend, a family. He is like a family member or an extended family to you. He comes to your house. He can sit at home with you. He can watch TV along with you. He can play games. He can eat at your home. Right? These are all the facilities that are provided for your friend. Alright? But remember, he is not a family member, but he is a friend. So when you are saying a friend, he is not, remember, he is not a family member, but he uses the facilities at your home like TV, whatever it is, right? So but this person can also be a friend of another family also. Your friend is a friend of another friend, right? The same way you have a friend function in C++. That is, you have a function that can access the private members of a class even though the function is not a member of that class. So a friend function, it is a special function. It is a special function that is defined outside the class. Remember, it is defined outside the class. As I said earlier, he is not a family member. It is he is an outside member who can come to your house, right? So it is defined outside the class, but it has the right to access all the private and protected members of the class. Access all the private and protected members of the class. Remember once again, friends are not member functions. That is, it is not a member of your family. So in brief, a special function which has the right to access the private and protected members of a class, though it is not a member of that class, is a friend function. Then remember, you are going to use the keyword friend. You are going to use the keyword friend. It is used only for declaration, not for definition. Used only for declaration and not definition. This is the point which you are supposed to remember. Very important. It is used only for declaration and not for definition. So a friend function is used or declared in the same way as any other function, but the keyword friend must be used. Now, how are you going to declare it? Friend function declaration. How are you going to declare this? The syntax for this is, as I said, use the keyword friend and the return type and then function name and then the argument. You can have one or more than one argument also. Okay, so this is your friend function, declaration for the friend function. One another important aspect in this friend function, or the important question in this friend function, is the features or the characteristics of the function. What are the features? As we said earlier, friend of the class can be a member of other class. Now when you have your friend who comes to your house, he is a member of another house, right? Your friend's house, he has got his own house, so he's a member of that house, but he can be a friend of you, of your family. So he can be a friend of another class also, that is, he can be a friend of another family also. So if he is a friend of many such families or classes, we call them as a global friend. If he is a friend of many classes or families, we call him as a global friend. So, and the important, that is, friend can access the private or the protected members of the class. A friend function can be called without using the object, can be called without using the object, because its scope is not restricted to one particular class. So friend can be a friend of more than one class, then they can be used for, it can be used as you want to send some message to one of your friend whom you are not going to see, but you want to pass the message, then you can tell this person to give the information to that person. So can be used for message passing between classes, that is between your friends, right? Between classes. So it can be declared, friends can be declared anywhere. Friends can be declared anywhere. This is one of the important question that they ask you. Where can you declare your friend function? It can be declared anywhere, that is either in your public, protected or private section of the class. It can be defined inside or outside the class definition also, and it can access the class members, it can access the members of the class directly, as we said, because they are members, family friends, right? So it can access the members of the class directly. So these are the features of the friend function, and with this we come to the end of this session, that is function overloading and member functions. Thank you. If you remember, this is one again gentle reminder, please submit your assignments that are given to this mail ID. I am not getting from everyone, only a few members are sending me the assignment. Please send the assignment in time. Thank you.